Now let's see the different kinds of loops in JavaScript. And for your information, there are 5 kinds of loops in JavaScript. Let's see one by one. The first one is while loop. And as you already know, the basic behavior of a loop is used to execute a block of code or lines of code again and again until a certain condition is true. Let's learn this loop with a real world problems. I want to print the table of 2 just like this, right? Let me increase the font of this table. Now I want to print this table into the console using while loop, right? Let's forget while loop for now, but focus on the behavior of this pattern, right? Let's suppose this is a column 1, this is a column 2, and this is a column 3. In the first column, do you notice there is a same constant is repeating again and again? Oh, so can I say that this is a constant, right? In the second column, did you notice the counting is incrementing by 1 in each iteration, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, and so on till 10. So can I say that it's the I? Because we have already know that if you find any pattern like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and vice versa is also true, then we can say that this is the value of I, right? And the value of I is starting from 1 and ending at the 10th position, right? So can I say that this is the initial value, and the value of I is incrementing in each iteration by 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1 till 10. And do you know how can we increment a variable by 1 in each iteration? Using increment or decrement operator. If you want to decrement by 1, then we can use decrement operator. Otherwise, if you want to increase a variable by 1, then we should use increment operator. So here we need to increment these values by 1 according to some condition, right? Let's suppose in the first iteration the value of I is 1, right? Then first we need to initialize this loop with 1. Then we need to check a condition that 1 is less than or equal to 10 because of the last number is 10, right? So we need to check this condition in the second step, and if it is true, then we need to multiply this constant with I, that is 1, in the next iteration. Now let's suppose the value of I is 2. Again check 2 is less than 10. If it is true, then again we need to multiply this constant with the value of I, because now the value of I becomes 2, and these steps going till 9, and in the next iteration the value of I becomes 10. And now let's check this condition again. 10 is less than 10. Yes, it is true. Then again multiply constant with 10, right? And in the next iteration the value of I becomes 11. Again check the condition. 11 is less than 10. No. And now the loop will be terminated. Did you notice one thing? How can I increment the value of I? By adding 1 in each iteration, right? And how can I add 1 to a variable in each iteration? Using increment operator. So can I say that there are 3 components of a loop? The first one is initial value, and the second one is a condition, and the last one is an increment or a decrement operator, that is used to increment the value of I or decrement the value of I according to our requirements. Let me write again on this page. According to me, there are three main components of a loop. The first one is initial value, and the second one is a condition, and the third one is an increment or a decrement operator. And if we skip any of these components, then our loop can be iterated infinitely, and we do not want to execute a piece of code infinitely because that breaks our application. So these three things we need to keep in mind in order to avoid infinitely loop iteration. So now let's see the actual syntax or control flow of the while loop. The syntax of the while loop is so simple. Just write a keyword over here, while, and inside the parenthesis of while, we need to pass a condition that will be evaluated either true or false. And inside the curly braces of the while loop, we need to write our logic. And at the end of this logic, we need to define, or we need to increase or decrease the iteration, I plus plus or I minus minus. But before starting the while loop, we need to initialize the value of I. So let I equal to 1. So the control flow of the while loop will be start from this line and then goes to this line, and here condition will be checked first, and then the lines of code inside the curly braces will be executed if the condition is true. So after the condition, the control flow go inside curly braces of the while loop, and then our logic will be executed one time. Then the value of I will be increment, then again condition will be checked, then logic, then I, then again condition, logic I, again condition, logic I, again condition, logic I, again condition, and if the condition is false, then this loop will be terminated and the next line will be executed now after this while loop, right? So this is the basic control flow of the while loop, and I hope you don't have any doubt in this control flow, right? So now let's solve this problem into VS Code. Let's see. Now let's paste our requirement over here. Now I want to print these whole things into this console log, right? Using while loop. So our first component of the loop is initialization. So let's initialize our loop with 1. So let I equals to 1. In the second step, we need to define a condition over here. Our condition will be I is going to iterate from 1 to 10. So let's put it inside the parenthesis of the while. Our condition is I is less than or equal to 10. And inside the parenthesis, we need to define a logic and increment the value of I in each iteration. That is the third component of the loop, right? So let's write a console log over here, that is CLG. Inside the template literal, we can pass these things, and this will be a constant and it will be a variable. So let's put it inside curly braces, and it's a variable, so I can be a variable. And here again we need to define a expression inside a template literal 2 into I, and that's it. And in the last step, we need to increment the value of I in each iteration using increment operator, I plus plus, and that's it. Our requirement has been done, right? Let's run it, and boom, there is the output. But I have a challenge for you. Can you print this same thing but in the reverse order, just like this? Can you print it? pause this video here and try to solve this problem by yourself. Let me help you a little bit, right? So in the first column, it will be a constant. In the second column, I, and now I is starting from 10, right? And in the next iteration, we need to decrease by 1 by 1 by 1 by 1 in each iteration. So in this case, we need to use decrement operator, right? And now I hope you know how can you solve this. Try to solve it yourself and then start this video from here, right?